The next thing that we are going to talk about after talking about how to use Jersey in the REST API in Spring Boot is we're going to talk about, I don't know how to pronounce it in English, Hateoas or Hateoas, this one. That is a library that helps us to create better, it's here. You can say, view how you need to pronounce Hateoas. Okay, it's going to help to produce better answers. So instead, just return the attributes. It's going to return something that we call links with references to the others. It's going to help us to navigate in the REST interface. So it's going to have links to us, links to the parents when we are talking about more than one entity that is involved. So finally we can have things like this, content with links, attributes, and links to other things. And this is very interesting because we can know the URLs of the entities from the code that is consuming these endpoints, and that helps a lot to ask for more things. So how to include Hateoas or Hateoas, or the way that you want to pronounce it in here. Well, I have prepared a branch with this code, and okay, what I did was do this with the first. I didn't do it with Jersey, I do it with the first code that we have, so we can compare now with master again, and we can view that we have added something called content resource, is a new file, and we have modified several things. So what we have modified, the first thing is the POM XML, and again the only thing that we needed to do is add Spring Framework Hateoas. Okay, in the application properties we have done other thing that is important, because Hateoas has a lot of fields, and if you don't include this annotation, that is this property that is Spring Jackson default property inclusion not null, all the annotations appear with a null value, and then the response is very huge because there are a lot of nulls. So you miss all the data in a full sea of nulls. So it's better to add this. In that way, the only things that are returned are the values that are not null. This is the application properties and the POM, and later we have done some changes in the data. Let's view what we have done here in the code. So the first thing is we have changed the contact class, but the only thing that we have done is add some constructors that Hateoas was needing, and without this it was failing, and it was asking for create these different constructors. I think that maybe some of them are not needed, but I created one with contact, one with contact plus ID, and some basics with the values and the values plus the ID, and obviously the default one without anything. Creating this, the code was working correctly. It's the only change I needed to do in contact. In fact, generally this is a good practice to have several constructors, so it's okay. In the contact controller, this was a big change. Okay, so let's show the differences. Here is possible to compare. Okay, besides importing everything, you can view that I did several changes. For instance, let's view what happened in the get. In the get, instead of returning contact response entity with contact, I'm returning a response entity with a content resource. That's a different object. So I'm not returning contact, I'm returning a content resource. Everything the other things are basically the same. The only difference is that instead of return contact get, I'm returning the contact resource with the contact get inside. In the post, well, I do the same, and I have a code here that creates automatically the URL. If you remember, in the old code, I have hard-coded this. This, of course, is a better way to do it. But the big difference is, again, the contact resource. Here is the same. In the put, well, this is more basic, but I creating a new contact with the new constructor that I created with the ID that I receive and the information, and I save it. So I remove all these things. It's something that maybe I could have done before. And again, creating the URL and returning the things that I need to return. So the changes are not huge, and the basic change is that I'm returning a contact. Where it's contact resource. Where is it? Here. Okay, a contact resource. And what is a contact resource? Well, a contact resource is a class that extends resource support, that is from Hateoas, and has everything that we need for that. That contains only the contact and has a constructor that adds the contact, gets the ID, and generates with this code the different links that we want to create. It adds a link to contact controller with the reference contact. It adds a link to get the self-reference, and depending how complex is the application, we are going to need to add different links here to have a more complete response. So let's start this and view what happens. It's the best way to understand what this is doing. So let's start it. I think I need to return this to v1. I'm going to do it while it starts. Done. So let's send. And now we are receiving everything, but in a different format. You can view here that we have a link to this that we are doing, to self. We have the content, that is an object that has contact with information, but has links for this contact, that is the link to itself. Sorry, the links to the reference API and to itself. So if I click on this, it opens in another, and I click on send, I receive it alone. This was the contacts, and this was the contact one. So if I'm working with an application and I receive this, and I want to extract all the data from this one, I have here the URL to access directly to this. I don't need to write logic to build this URL based in the ID. I have it here directly. I don't need to think or spend code in doing that. That's what Hateoas offers to us. Okay, and well, the put and the post work exactly the same. So if I try to, let's add another choice, but again, it's the same, but the response is a little different. And we have contact 5 here. And if we go to this, well, we have contact 5. So that's what Hateoas does. Okay, it's an extra that we can add to our repo, to our REST API, to have a better response. In the next video, we're going to view some magic And this is really magic that Spring Boot can do, because there is a library that is the specific library that the Spring Boot has for create REST APIs. And let's be